KAHLIL Gibran's Little Book of Love. 1. Love's Initiation. The spring of love introduces us to beauty, desire, and passion. What part does the smoke of love play in relation to love's enduring fire? The spring of love. Come, my beloved, let us walk amidst the knolls. For the snow is water, and life is alive from its slumber, and is roaming the hills and valleys. Let us follow the footprints of spring into the distant fields, and mount the hilltops to draw inspiration high above the cool green plains. Dawn of spring has unfolded her winter-kept garment and placed it on the peach and citrus trees, and they appear as brides in the ceremonial custom of the night of copper. The sprigs of grapevine embrace each other like sweethearts, and the brooks burst out and dance between the rocks, repeating the song of joy. The flowers bud suddenly from the heart of nature, like foam from the rich heart of the sea. Come, my beloved, let us drink the last of winter's tears from the cupped lilies, and soothe our spirits with a shower of notes from the birds, wandering in exhilaration through the intoxicating breeze. Let us sit by that rock where violets hide. Let us pursue their exchange of the sweetness of kisses. Night of Qadr, also called Laylatul Qadr, the night of power. In the Islamic traditions, this is the night on which Prophet Muhammad first began to receive the Quran. It is marked on one of the last days of the month of Ramadan. The night is said to hold special blessings, and so is sometimes considered an auspicious time for a wedding in Lebanon. Beauty in the heart. There are only two elements here: beauty and truth. Beauty in the hearts of lovers, and truth in the arms of the tillers of the soil. Great beauty captures me, but a beauty still greater frees me, even from itself. Beauty shines brighter in the heart of the one who longs for it than in the eyes of the one who sees it. First love. I was 18 years of age when love opened my eyes with its magic rays and touched my spirit for the first time with its fiery fingers. And Selma Karami was the first woman who awakened my spirit with her beauty and led me into the garden of high affection, where days passed like dreams and nights like weddings. Selma Karami was the one who taught me to worship beauty by the example of her own duty, and revealed to me the secret of love by her affection. She was the one who first sang to me the poetry of real life. Every young man remembers his first love and tries to recapture that strange hour, the memory of which changes his deepest feeling and makes him so happy in spite of all the bitterness of its mystery. In every young man's life, there is a Selma who appears to him suddenly while in the spring of life and transforms his solitude into happy moments and fills the silence of his nights with music. I was deeply engrossed in thought and contemplation, and seeking to understand the meaning of nature and the revelation of books and scriptures, when I heard love whispered into my ears through Selma's lips. My life was a coma, empty like that of Adam's in paradise, when I saw Selma standing before me like a column of light. She was the Eve of my heart, who filled it with secrets and wonders and made me understand the meaning of life. The first Eve led Adam out of paradise by her own will, while Selma made me enter willingly into the paradise of pure love and virtue by her sweetness and love. But what happened to the first man also happened to me, and the fiery word that chased Adam out of paradise was like the one that frightened me by its glittering edge and forced me away from the paradise of my love without having disobeyed any order or tasted the fruit of the forbidden tree. Today, after many years have passed, I have nothing left out of that beautiful dream except painful memories flapping like invisible wings around me, filling the depths of my heart with sorrow and bringing tears to my eyes. And my beloved, beautiful Selma is dead, and nothing is left to commemorate her except my broken heart and a tomb surrounded by cypress trees. That tomb and this heart are all that is left to bear witness of Selma. The silence that guards the tomb does not reveal God's secret lying in the obscurity of the coffin, and the rustling of the branches whose roots suck the body's elements, do not tell the mysteries of the grave. But the agonized sighs of my heart announce to the living the drama that love, beauty, and death have performed. O friends of my youth who are scattered in the city of Beirut, when you pass by the cemetery near the pine forest, enter it silently and walk slowly, so the tramping of your feet will not disturb the slumber of the dead. Stop humbly by Selma's tomb and greet the earth that encloses her corpse, and mention my name with a deep sigh, and say to yourself, here all the hopes of Gibran, who was living as a prisoner of love beyond the seas, were buried. On this spot, he lost his happiness, drained his tears, and forgot his smile. By that tomb grows Gibran's sorrow together with the cypress trees, and above the tomb his spirit flickers every night commemorating Selma, joining the branches of the trees in sorrowful wailing, mourning and lamenting the going of Selma, who yesterday was a beautiful tune on the lips of life, and today is a silent secret in the bosom of the earth. O comrades of my youth, I appeal to you in the names of those virgins whom your hearts have loved, to lay a wreath of flowers on the forsaken tomb of my beloved. For the flowers you lay on Selma's tomb are like falling drops of dew from the eyes of dawn or the leaves of a withering rose. Wandering desire. When you were a wandering desire in the mist, I too was there, a wandering desire. Then we sought one another, and out of our eagerness, dreams were born. And dreams were time limitless, and dreams was space without measure. And when you were a silent word upon life's quivering lips, I too was there, another silent word. Then life uttered us, and we came down through the years, throbbing with memories of yesterday and with a longing for tomorrow. For yesterday was death conquered, and tomorrow was birth pursued. Singing the heart. Our mind is a sponge. Our heart is a stream. When life does not find a singer to sing her heart, she produces a philosopher to speak her mind. Beauty and love. Beauty has its own heavenly language, loftier than the voices of tongues and lips. It is a timeless language, common to all humanity, a calm lake that attracts the singing rivulets to its depths and makes them silent. Only our spirits can understand beauty or live and grow with it. It puzzles our minds. We are unable to describe it in words. It is a sensation that our eyes cannot see, derived from both the one who observes and the one who is looked upon. Real beauty is a ray that emanates from the Holy of Holies of the Spirit and illuminates the body, as life comes from the depths of the earth and gives color and scent to a flower. Did my spirit and Selma's reach out to each other that day when we met? And did that yearning make me see her as the most beautiful woman under the sun? Or was I intoxicated with the wine of youth, which made me fancy that which never existed? Did my youth blind my natural eyes and make me imagine the brightness of her eyes, the sweetness of her mouth, and the grace of her figure? Or was it that her brightness, sweetness, and grace opened my eyes and showed me the happiness and sorrow of love? It is hard to answer these questions, but I say truly that in that hour I felt an emotion that I had never felt before, a new affection resting calmly in my heart, like the Spirit hovering over the waters at the creation of the world. And from that affection was born my happiness and my sorrow. Thus ended the hour of my first meeting with Selma, and thus the will of heaven freed me from the bondage of youth and solitude, and let me walk in the procession of love. If you have desires. Love has no other desire but to fulfill itself. But if you love and must have desires, let these be your desires: to melt and be like a running brook that sings its melody to the night, to know the pain of too much tenderness, to be wounded by your own understanding of love, and to bleed willingly and joyfully, to wake at dawn with a winged heart, and to give thanks for another day of loving, to rest at the noon hour, and meditate love's ecstasy. To return home at eventide with gratitude, and then to sleep with a prayer for the beloved in your heart, and a song of praise upon your lip describing first love. A woman whom Providence has provided with beauty of spirit and body is a truth, at the same time both open and secret. We can understand that truth only by love, and touch it only by virtue. And when we attempt to describe such a woman, she disappears like vapor. Selma Karami had bodily and spiritual beauty, but how can I describe her to one who never knew her? Can a dead man remember the singing of a nightingale, the fragrance of a rose, and the sigh of a brook? Can a prisoner who was heavily loaded with shackles follow the breeze of the dawn? Is not silence more painful than death? Does pride prevent me from describing Selma in plain words, since I cannot draw her truthfully with luminous colors? A hungry man in a desert will not refuse to eat dry bread, even if heaven does not shower him with manna and quails. Mistaken identity. Upon a day, beauty and ugliness met on the shore of the sea, and they said to one another, "Let us bathe in the sea." Then they disrobed and swam in the waters, and after a while, ugliness came back to the shore and clothed himself with the garments of beauty and walked away. And beauty too came out of the sea and found not her raiment, and she was too shy to be naked, so she dressed herself with the raiment of ugliness, and beauty walked her way. And to this very day, men and women mistake the one for the other. Yet there are some who have beheld the face of beauty, and they know her, notwithstanding her garments, and there are some who know the face of ugliness, and the cloth conceals them not from their eyes. Love's summer. Let us go into the fields, my beloved, for the time of harvest approaches, and the sun's eyes are ripening the grain. Let us tend the fruit of the earth, as the Spirit nourishes the grains of joy from the seeds of love sowed deep in our hearts. Let us fill our bins with the products of nature, as life fills so abundantly the domain of our hearts with her endless bounty. Let us make the flowers our bed, and the sky our blanket, and rest our heads together upon pillows of soft hay. Let us relax after the day's toil, and listen to the provoking murmur of the brook. O love! They say the jackal and the mole drink from the same stream where the lion comes to drink. And they say the eagle and the vulture dig their beaks into the same carcass and are at peace, one with the other, in the presence of the dead thing. O love, whose lordly hand has bridled my desires and raised my hunger and my thirst to dignity and pride, let not the strong and constant in me eat the bread or drink the wine that tempt my weaker self. Let me rather starve, and let my heart parch with thirst, and let me die and perish, before I stretch my hand to a cup you did not fill, or a bowl you did not bless. Desire is half. Desire is half of life. Indifference is half of death. Between desire and peace. They say to me, "You must choose between the pleasures of this world and the peace of the next world." And I say to them, "I've chosen both the delights of this world and the peace of the next. For I know in my heart that the supreme poet wrote but one poem, and it scans perfectly, and it also rhymes perfectly. Faith is an oasis in the heart that will never be reached by the caravan of thinking. When you reach your height, you shall desire only for desire, and you shall hunger only for hunger, and you shall thirst only for greater thirst." God, moods, and passion. Your reason and your passion are the rudder and the sails of your seafaring soul. If either your sails or your rudder be broken, you can but toss and drift, or else be held at a standstill in mid-seas. For reason ruling alone is a force confining, and passion unattended is a flame that burns to its own destruction. Therefore, Let your soul exalt your reason to the height of passion, that it may sing, and let it direct your passion with reason, that your passion may live through its own daily resurrection, and like the phoenix, rise above its own ashes. I would have you consider your judgment and your appetite, even as you would two loved guests in your house. Surely you would not honor one guest above the other, for the one who is more mindful of one loses the love and faith of both. Among the hills, when you sit in the cold shade of the white poplars, sharing the peace and serenity of distant fields and meadows, then let your heart say in silence, God rests in reason. And when the storm comes, and the mighty wind shakes the forest, and thunder and lightning proclaim the majesty of the sky, then let your heart say in awe, God moves in passion. And since you are a breath in God's sphere and a leaf in God's forest, you too should rest in reason and move in passion. Voices in rapture. The ancient echoes, weary and depressed, converse among themselves about life's purpose or the lack of it, until one of them notices, a youth in yonder vale is singing his heart to the night. His lyre is gold and ebony, his voice is silver and gold. Down in the myrtle grove, a girl is dancing to the moon. 1,000 dew-stars are in her hair, about her feet 1,000 wings. The girl has found the singer. She sees his raptured face. Panther-like, she slips with subtle steps through rustling vine and fern, and now amid his ardent cries he gazes full on her. Oh, my brothers, my heedless brothers, is it some other god in passion who has woven this web of scarlet and white? What unbridled star has gone astray? Whose secret keeps night from morning, and whose hand is upon our world? They meet, two star-bound spirits, and the sky encountering. In silence, they gaze one upon the other. He sings no more, and yet his sunburnt throat throbs with the song, and in her limbs the happy dancer stayed, but not asleep. Brothers, my strange brothers, the night waxes deep and brighter as the moon, and between the meadow and the sea, a voice in rapture calls you and me. Your body is the harp of your soul. But tell me, who is the one that can offend the spirit? Shall the nightingale offend the stillness of the night, or the firefly the stars? And shall your flame or your smoke burden the wind? Do you think the spirit is a still pool that you can trouble with a staff? Oftentimes, and denying yourself pleasure, you will store the desire in the recesses of your being. Who knows whether that which seems a minute today waits for tomorrow? Even your body knows its heritage and its rightful need, and will not be deceived. And your body is the harp of your soul. It is yours to bring forth sweet music from it, or confused sounds. And now you ask in your heart, how shall we distinguish that which is good in pleasure from that which is not good? Go to your fields and your gardens, and you shall learn that it is the pleasure of the bee to gather honey of the flower, but it is also the pleasure of the flower to yield its honey to the bee. For to the bee, a flower is a fountain of life, and to the flower, a bee is a messenger of love. And to be both bee and flower, the giving and receiving of pleasure is a need and an ecstasy. If your heart is a volcano, how shall you expect flowers to bloom in your hands? I am the flame, and I am the dry bush, and one part of me consumes the other part. Love across age. The poet youth said to the princess, I love you. And the princess answered, and I love you too, my child. But I am not your child. I am a man, and I love you. And she said, I am the mother of sons and daughters, and they are fathers and mothers of sons and daughters, and one of the sons of my sons is older than you. And the poet youth said, but I love you. It was not long after that the princess died, but before her last breath was received again by the greater breath of earth, she said within her soul, my beloved, mine only son, my youth poet. It may yet be that some day we shall meet again, and I shall not be 70. A desire on the Salome speaks about Jesus to a woman friend. He was like poplars, shimmering in the sun, and like a lake among the lonely hills, shining in the sun, and like snow upon the mountain heights, white, white in the sun. Yea, he was like all these, and I loved him. Yet I feared his presence, and my feet would not carry my burden of love, that I might girdle his feet with my arms. I would have said to him, I have slain your friend in an hour of passion. Will you forgive me my sin? And will you not, in mercy, release my youth from its blind deed, that it may walk in your light? I know he would have forgiven my dancing for the saintly head of his friend. I know he would have seen in me an object of his own teaching. For there was no valley of hunger he could not bridge, and no desert of thirst he could not cross. Yes, he was even as the poplars and as the lakes among the hills, and like snow upon Lebanon. And I would have cooled my lips in the folds of his garment. But he was far from me, and I was ashamed, and my mother held me back when the desire to seek him was upon me. Whenever he passed by, my heart ached for his loveliness. But my mother frowned at him in contempt, and would hasten me from the window to my bedchamber, and she would cry aloud, saying, Who is he but another locust-eater from the desert? What is he but a scoffer and a renegade, a seditious riot-monger, who would rob us of sceptre and crown, and bid the foxes and the jackals of his accursed land to howl in our halls, and sit upon our throne? Go hide your face from this day, and await the day when his head shall fall down, but not upon your platter. These things my mother said, but my heart would not keep her words. I loved him in secret, and my sleep was girdled with flames. He is gone now, and something that was in me is gone also. Perhaps it was my youth that would not tarry here, since the god of youth was slain. A passion unspent. In the city of Chalakis lived a prince, and he was loved by everyone, men, women, and children. Even the animals of the field came to him in greeting. But all the people said that his wife, the princess, loved him not, nay, that she even hated him. And one day the princess of a neighboring city came to visit the princess of Chalakis. And they sat and talked together, and their words led to their husbands. And the princess of Chalakis said with passion, I envy your happiness for the prince, your husband, though you have been married these many years. I hate my husband. He belongs not to me alone, and I am indeed a woman most unhappy. Then the visiting princess gazed at her and said, My friend, the truth is that you love your husband. Aye, and you still have him for a passion unspent, and that is life in a woman, like spring in a garden. But pity me and my husband, for we only endure one another in silent patience, and yet you and others deem this happiness. All the stars of my night faded away. Mary Magdalene speaks about meeting Jesus for the first time. It was in the month of June when I saw him for the first time. He was walking in the wheat field when I passed by with my handmaidens, and he was alone. The rhythm of his steps was different from other men's, and the movement of his body was like nothing I had seen before. Men do not pace the earth in that manner, and even now I do not know whether he walked fast or slow. My handmaidens pointed their fingers at him and spoke in shy whispers to one another, and I stayed my steps for a moment and raised my hand to hail him. But he did not turn his face, and he did not look at me, and I hated him. I was swept back into myself, and I was as cold as if I had been in a snowdrift, and I shivered. That night I beheld him in my dreaming, and they told me afterward that I screamed in my sleep and was restless upon my bed. It was in the month of August that I saw him again through my window. He was sitting in the shadow of the cypress tree across my garden, and he was as still as if he had been carved out of stone, like the statues in Antioch and other cities of the North Country. And my slave, the Egyptian, came to me and said, "That man is here again. He is sitting there across your garden." Then I gazed at him, and my soul quivered within me, for he was beautiful. His body was single, and each part seemed to love every other part. Then I clothed myself with raiment of Damascus, and I left my house and walked towards him. Was it my aloneness, or was it his fragrance that drew me to him? Was it a hunger in my eyes that desired comeliness, or was it his beauty that sought the light of my eyes? Even now I do not know. I walked to him with my scented garments and my golden sandals, the sandals the Roman captain had given me, even these sandals. And when I reached him, I said, "Good morrow to you." And he said, "Good morrow to you, Miriam." And he looked at me, and his night eyes saw me as no man had seen me. And suddenly I was as if naked, and I was shy. Yet he'd only said, "Good morrow to you." And then I said to him, "Will you not come to my house?" And he said, "Am I not already in your house?" I did not know what he meant then, but I know now. And I said, "Will you not have wine and bread with me?" And he said, "Yes, Miriam, but not now." "Not now? Not now," he said. And the voice of the sea was in those two words, and the voice of the wind and the trees, and when he said them to me, life spoke to death. For mind you, my friend, I was dead. I was a woman who had divorced her soul. I was living apart from this self that you now see. I belonged to all men, and to none. They called me harlot, and a woman possessed of 7 devils. I was cursed, and I was envied. But when his dawn eyes looked into my eyes, all the stars of my night faded away, and I became Miriam, only Miriam, a woman lost to the earth she had known and finding herself in new places. And now again I said to him, "Come into my house and share bread and wine with me." And he said, "Why do you bid me be your guest?" And I said, "I beg you to come into my house." And it was all that was sod in me, and all that was sky in me, calling unto him. Then he looked at me, and the noontide of his eyes was upon me, and he said, "You have many lovers, and yet I alone love you. Other men love themselves in your nearness. I love you in yourself. Other men see a beauty in you that shall fade away sooner than their own years. But I see in you a beauty that shall not fade away. And in the autumn of your days, that beauty shall not be afraid to gaze at itself in the mirror, and it shall not be offended. I alone love the unseen in you." Then he said in a low voice, "Go away now. If this cypress tree is yours, and you would not have me sit in its shadow, I will walk my way." And I cried to him, and I said, "Master, come to my house. I have incense to burn for you, and a silver basin for your feet. You are a stranger, and yet not a stranger. I entreat you, come to my house." Then he stood up and looked at me, even as the seasons might look down upon the field. And he smiled, and he said again, "All men love you for themselves. I love you for yourself." And then he walked away. But no other man ever walked the way he walked. Was it a breath born in my garden that moved to the east? Or was it a storm that would shake all things to their foundations? I knew not. But on that day the sunset of his eyes slew the dragon in me, and I became a woman. I became Miriam, Miriam of Mishdel. 2. The Veils of Love. As love matures, we are challenged by our surrounding culture, as well as by the unspoken assumptions and illusions we hold. Tears come with parting, loneliness and longing. Through all these experiences, Love veils and unveils itself. Love's gifts. Love provided me with a tongue and tears. The cage top. There in the middle of the field, by the side of a crystalline stream, I saw a bird cage whose rods and hinges were fashioned by an expert's hands. In one corner lay a dead bird, and in another were two basins, one empty of water and the other of seeds. I stood there reverently, as if the lifeless bird and the murmur of the water were worthy of deep silence and respect, something worthy of examination and meditation by the heart and conscience. As I engrossed myself in dew and thought, I found that the poor creature had died of thirst beside a stream of water, and of hunger in the midst of a rich field, a cradle of life. It was like a rich man locked inside his iron safe, perishing from hunger amid heaps of gold. Before my eyes, I saw the cage turn suddenly into a human skeleton, and the dead bird into a human heart, which was bleeding from a deep wound that looked like the lips of a sorrowing woman. A voice came from that wound, saying, "I am the human heart, prisoner of substance and the victim of earthly laws. In God's field of beauty, at the edge of the stream of life, I was imprisoned in the cage of laws made by humanity. In the center of beautiful creation, I died neglected, because I was kept from enjoying the freedom of God's bounty. Everything of beauty that awakens my love and desire is a disgrace, according to human conceptions. Everything of goodness that I crave is but naught, according to this judgment. I am the lost human heart, imprisoned in the foul dungeon of human dictates, tied with chains of earthly authority, dead and forgotten by laugh and humanity, whose tongue is tied, and whose eyes are empty of visible tears." All these words I heard, and I saw them emerging with a stream of ever-thinning blood from that wounded heart. More was said, but my misted eyes and crying soul prevented further sight or hearing. Love versus law. Those people who go back to eternity before they taste the sweetness of real life are unable to understand the meaning of a woman's suffering, especially when she devotes her soul to a man she loves by the will of God, and her body to another whom she caresses by the enforcement of earthly law. Three persons separated. Three persons were separated in thought, but united in love. Three innocent people with much feeling, but little knowledge. A drama was being performed by an old man who loved his daughter and cared for her happiness, a young woman of 20 looking into the future with anxiety, and a young man dreaming and worrying who had tasted neither the wine of life nor its vinegar, and was trying to reach the height of love and knowledge, but was unable to lift himself up. We three, sitting in twilight, were eating and drinking in that solitary home, guarded by heaven's eyes, but at the bottoms of our glasses were hidden bitterness and anguish. But lovers embrace. Lovers embrace that which is between them, rather than each other. Two kinds of love. A man and a woman sat by a window that opened upon spring. They sat close to one another, and the woman said, "I love you. You are handsome, and you are rich, and you are always well attired." And the man said, "I love you. You are a beautiful thought, a thing too apart to hold in the hand, a song in my dreaming." But the woman turned from him in anger, and she said, "Sir, please leave me now. I'm not a thought. I'm not a thing that passes in your dreams. I am a woman. I would have you desire me, a wife and the mother of our unborn children." And they parted. And the man was saying in his heart, "Behold, another dream is even now turned into mist." And the woman was saying, "Well, what of a man who turns me into a mist and a dream?" Whom do we love? When I stood, a clear mirror before you, you gazed into me and saw your image. Then you said, "I love you." But in truth, you loved yourself in me. Love is the veil between lover and lover. Laughter and tears. As the sun withdrew its rays from the garden, and the moon threw cushioned beams upon the flowers, I sat under the trees, pondering upon the phenomena of the atmosphere, looking through the branches at the strewn stars, which glittered like chips of silver upon a blue carpet. And I could hear from a distance the agitated murmur of the rivulet, singing its way briskly into the valley. When the birds took shelter among the boughs, and the flowers folded their petals, and tremendous silence descended, I heard a rustle of feet through the grass. I took heed, and saw a young couple approaching my arbor. They sat under a tree where I could see them without being seen. After he looked about in every direction, I heard the young men saying, "Sit by me, my beloved, and listen to my heart. Smile, for your happiness is a symbol of our future. Be merry, for the sparkling days rejoice with us. My soul is warming me of the doubt in your heart, for doubt in love is a sin. Soon you will be the owner of this vast land, lighted by this beautiful moon. Soon you will be the mistress of my palace, and all the servants and maids will obey your commands. Smile, my beloved, like the gold smiles from my father's coffers. My heart refuses to deny you its secret. 12 months of your comfort and travel await us. For a year, we will spend my father's gold at the blue lakes of Switzerland, and viewing the edifices of Italy and Egypt, and resting under the holy cedars of Lebanon. You will meet the princesses who will envy you for your jewels and clothes. All these things I will do for you. Will you be satisfied?" And a little while, I saw them walking and stepping on flowers, as the rich step upon the hearts of the poor. As they disappeared from my sight, I began to make a comparison between love and money, and to analyze their position in the heart. Money, the source of insincere love, the spring of false light and fortune, the well of poisoned water, the desperation of old age. I was still wandering in the vast desert of contemplation when a forlorn and spectre-like couple passed by me and sat on the grass. A young man and a young woman who had left their farming shacks in the nearby fields for this cool and solitary place. After a few moments of complete silence, I heard the following words, uttered with sighs from weather-bitten lips. "Shed not tears, my beloved. Love that opens our eyes and enslaves our hearts can give us the blessing of patience. Be consoled in our delay, for we have taken an oath and entered love's shrine. For our love will ever grow in adversity. For it is in love's name that we are suffering the obstacles of poverty, and the sharpness of misery, and the emptiness of separation. I shall attack these hardships until I triumph, and place in your hands a strength that will help overcome all things to complete the journey of life. Love, which is God, will consider our sighs and tears as incense burned at the altar, and will reward us with fortitude. Goodbye, my beloved. I must leave before the heartening moon vanishes." A pure voice, combined with the consuming flame of love, the hopeless bitterness of longing, and the resolved sweetness of patience, said, "Goodbye, my beloved." They separated, and the elegy to their union was smothered by the wails of my crying heart. I looked upon slumbering nature, and with deep reflection discovered the reality of a vast and infinite thing, something no power could demand, influence, or acquire, nor riches purchase, nor could it be effaced by the tears of time or deadened by sorrow, a thing that cannot be discovered by the blue lakes of Switzerland or the beautiful edifices of Italy. It is something that gathers strength with patience, grows despite obstacles, warms in winter, flourishes in spring, casts a breeze in summer, and bears fruit in autumn. I found love. Love cleansed by tears. Hearts that are united through the medium of sorrow will not be separated by the glory of happiness. Love that is cleansed by tears will remain eternally pure and beautiful. A woman's heart. Selma told me, "A woman's heart will not change with time or season. Even if it dies eternally, it will never perish. A woman's heart is like a field turned into a battleground. After the trees are uprooted, and the grass is burned, and the rocks are reddened with blood, and the earth is planted with bones and skulls, it is calm and silent, as if nothing. The spring and autumn come at their intervals, and resume their work. Love caresses and threshes. Even as love crowns you, so shall it crucify you. Even as love is for your growth, so is love for your pruning. Even as love ascends to your height and caresses your tenderest branches that quiver in the sun, so shall love descend to your roots and shake them and their clinging to the earth. Like sheaves of corn, love gathers you unto itself. Love threshes you to make you naked. Love sifts you to free you from your husks. Love grinds you to whiteness. Love kneads you until you are pliant. And then love assigns you its sacred fire, that you may become bread for God's sacred feast. All these things shall love do unto you, that you may know the secrets of your heart, and in their knowledge become a fragment of life's heart. Love's autumn. Let us go and gather grapes in the vineyard for the winepress, and keep the wine in old vases, as the Spirit keeps knowledge of the ages and eternal vessels. Let us return to our dwelling, for the wind has caused the yellow leaves to fall, and shroud the withering flowers that whisper elegy to summer. Come home, my eternal sweetheart, for the birds have made pilgrimage to warmth, and left the chilled prairies suffering pangs of solitude. The jasmine and myrtle have no more tears. Let us retreat, for the tired brook has ceased its song, the bubblesome springs are drained of their copious weeping, and the cautious old hills have stored away their colorful garments. Come, my beloved. Nature is justly weary, and is bidding her enthusiasm farewell with quiet and contented melody. Between heart and soul. A lover speaks about his beloved. Blame never diverts the heart from its purpose, and loneliness deflects not the soul from the truth. A man between his heart and his soul is like a tender branch between the north and south winds. I'm following you, O love. What do you seek of me? I've walked with you upon the flaming path, and when I opened my eyes, I saw not the darkness. My lips quivered, but you let them speak only words of misery. Love, you have made my heart hungry for the sweetness of your presence, for I am weak and you are strong. Why are you struggling with me? The brooks hurry to their lover, the sea. The flowers smile at their sweetheart, the sun. The clouds descend to their suitor, the valley. I am unheard by the brooks, unseen by the flowers, unknown to the clouds. When I discovered that you are a princess, and I looked upon my poverty, I learned that God possesses a secret unrevealed to humanity, that a secret path leads the spirit to places where love may forget the customs of the earth. When I looked at your eyes, I knew that this path leads to a paradise whose door is the human heart. Tears and dewdrops. You may forget the one with whom you have laughed, but never the one with whom you have wept. There must be something strangely sacred in salt. It is in our tears and in the sea. Our God, in his gracious thirst, will drink us all, the dewdrop and the tear. Depth. Ever has it been that love knows not its own depth until the hour of separation. Where are you now, mine other self? O companion of my soul, where are you? Do you have a memory of the day we met, when the halo of your spirit surrounded us, and the angels of love floated about us, singing the praise of the soul's deed? Do you recollect our sitting in the shade of the branches, sheltering ourselves from humanity, as the ribs protect the divine secret of the heart from injury? Do you remember the trails and forest we walked, with hands joined, and our heads leaning against each other, as if we were hiding ourselves within ourselves. Do you recall the hour I bade you farewell, and the kiss you placed on my lips? That kiss taught me that joining lips in love reveals heavenly secrets that the tongue cannot utter. That kiss was an introduction to a great sigh, like the Almighty's breath that turned earth into a human being. I remember when you kissed me, with tears coursing down your cheeks, and you said, "Earthly bodies must often separate for earthly purpose, and must live apart impelled by worldly intent. But the spirit remains joined safely in the hands of love, until death arrives and takes joined souls to God. Go, my beloved. Love has chosen you, her delegate. Obey her, for she is beauty, who offers to her follower the cup of the sweetness of life. Where are you now, my other self? Are you awake in the silence of the night? Let the clean breeze convey to you my heart's every beat and affection. Are you fondling my face in your memory? That image is no longer my own, for sorrow has dropped its shadow on my happy countenance of the past. Sobs have withered my eyes, which reflected your beauty, and dried my lips, which you sweetened with kisses. Where are you, my beloved? Do you hear my weeping from beyond the ocean? Do you understand my need? Do you know the greatness of my patience? Where are you, my beautiful star? The obscurity of life has cast me upon its bosom. Sorrow has conquered me. Sail your smile into the air. It will reach and enliven me. Breathe your fragrance into the air. It will sustain me. Oh, how great is love, and how little am I. Who is crucifying the Son? Susanna of Nazareth speaks of Mary, Jesus' mother. 2 Sabbaths ago, my heart was as a stone in my breast, for my son had left me for a ship in Tyre. He would be a sailor, and he said he would return no more. And upon an evening, I saw Mary. When I entered her house, she was sitting at her loom, but she was not weaving. She was looking into the sky beyond Nazareth. And I said to her, "Hail, Mary." And she stretched out her arm to me and said, "Come and sit beside me, and let us watch the sun pour its blood upon the hills." I sat beside her on the bench, and we gazed into the west through the window. After a moment, Mary said, "And wonder, who is crucifying the sun this eventide?" Then I said, "I came to you for comfort. My son has left me for the sea, and I am alone in the house across the way." Then Mary said, "I would comfort you, but how shall I?" And I said, "If you will only speak of your son, I shall be comforted." And Mary smiled upon me, and she laid her hand about my shoulder, and she said, "I will speak of him. That which will console you will give me consolation." Then she spoke of Jesus, and she spoke long of all that was in the beginning. And it seemed to me that in her speech she would have no difference between her son and mine, for she said to me, "My son is also a seafarer. Why would you not trust your son to the waves, even as I have trusted him? Woman shall be forever the womb in the cradle, but never the tomb. We die, that we may give life unto life, even as our fingers spin the thread for the raiment that we shall never wear. And we cast the net for the fish that we shall never taste. And for this we sorrow, yet in all this is our joy." Thus spoke Mary to me, and I left her and came to my house, and though the light of the day was spent, I sat at my loom to weave more of the cloth. Seasons of your heart. Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart may stand in the sun, so must you know pain. If you could keep your heart in wonder of the daily miracles of life, your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy. You would accept the seasons of your heart, even as you have always accepted the seasons that pass over your fields. Great longing. The madman speaks. Here I sit between my brother the mountain and my sister the sea. We three are one in loneliness, and the love that binds us together is deep and strong and strange. Nay, it is deeper than my sister's depth, and stronger than my brother's strength, and stranger than the strangeness of my madness. Eons upon eons have passed since the first grey dawn made us visible to one another, and though we have seen the birth and the fullness and the death of many worlds, we are still eager and young. We are young and eager, and yet we are mateless and unvisited. And though we lie in unbroken half-embrace, we are uncomforted. And what comfort is there for controlled desire and unspent passion? Whence shall come the flaming God to warm my sister's bed? And what she-torrent shall quench my brother's fire? And who is the woman that shall command my heart? In the stillness of the night, my sister murmurs in her sleep the fire-cart's unknown name, and my brother calls afar upon the cool and distant goddess. But upon whom I call in my sleep, I know not. Here I sit between my brother the mountain and my sister the sea. We three are one in loneliness, and the love that binds us together is deep and strong and strange. Longing beyond words. We were fluttering, wandering, longing creatures 1,000 years before the sea and the wind and the forest gave us words. Now, how can we express the ancient of days in us with only the sounds of our yesterdays? The Sphinx spoke only once, and the Sphinx said, "A grain of sand is a desert, and a desert is a grain of sand." And now let us all be silent again. Alone? Alone? And what of it? You came alone, and alone shall you pass into the mist. Therefore drink your cup alone and in silence. The autumn days have given other lips other cups, and filled them with wine, bitter and sweet, even as they have filled your cup. Drink your cup alone, though it tastes of your own blood and tears, and praise life for the gift of thirst. For without thirst, your heart is but the shore of a barren sea, songless and without a tide. Unsealing the heart. How shall my heart be unsealed, unless it be broken? Only great sorrow or great joy can reveal your truth. If you would be revealed, you must either dance naked in the sun or carry your cross. Speaking and listening to the heart. The voice of life in me cannot reach the ear of life in you, but let us talk, that we may not feel lonely. Should one tell a lie that does not hurt you nor anyone else, why not say in your heart that the house of facts is too small for his fancies, and yet to leave it for a larger space? A great person has two hearts. One bleeds, and the other forbears. The reality of other people is not in what they reveal to you, but in what they cannot reveal to you. Therefore, if you would understand them, listen not to what they say, but rather to what they do not say. Freedom and slavery. You are free before the sun of the day, and free before the stars of the night. And you are free when there are no sun, and no moon, and no stars. You are even free when you close your eyes upon all there is. But you are a slave to the one whom you love, because you love him, and a slave to her who loves you, because she loves you. If you would possess, you must not claim. Weep for the beloved. The woman of Byblos offers a lamentation at the time of Jesus. Weep with me, ye daughters of Astarte, and all ye lovers of Tammuz. Bid your heart melt and rise, and run with blood tears, for he who was made of gold and ivory is no more. And the dark forest, the boar overcame him, and the tusks of the boar pierced his flesh. Now he lies stained with the leaves of yesteryear, and no longer shall his footsteps wake the seeds that sleep in the bosom of the spring. His voice will not come with the dawn to my window. Then I shall be forever alone. Weep with me, ye daughters of Astarte, and all ye lovers of Tammuz, for my beloved has escaped me. He who spoke as the rivers speak, he whose voice and time were twins, he whose mouth was a red pain made sweet, he on whose lips gall would turn to honey. Weep with me, daughters of Astarte, and ye lovers of Tammuz. Weep with me around his bier, as the stars weep, and as the moon petals fall upon his wounded body. Wet with your tears the silken covers of my bed, where my beloved once lay in my dream. He was gone away in my awakening. I charge ye, daughters of Astarte, and all ye lovers of Tammuz, bare your breasts and weep and comfort me, for Jesus of Nazareth is dead. Byblos, now called Jabail, was an ancient city on the Mediterranean coast in present-day Lebanon. Previously occupied by Egypt and Assyria, Byblos is associated with great goddess Astarte, called the Lady of Byblos, and her dying god consort, Tammuz. The worship of both was undoubtedly still strong at the time of Jesus. Harvesting the heart's pain. A poet's voice speaks. The power of charity sows seed deep in my heart, and I reap and gather the wheat in bundles and give it to the hungry. My soul gives life to the grapevine, and I press its bunches and give the juice to the thirsty. Heaven fills my lamp with oil, and I place it at my window to direct the stranger through the dark. I do all these things because I live in them, and if destiny should tie my hands and prevent me from so doing, then death would be my only desire. For I am a poet, and if I cannot give, I shall refuse to receive. Humanity rages like a tempest, but I sigh in silence, for I know the storm must pass away, while a sigh goes to God. Humanity clings to earthly things, but I seek ever to embrace the torch of love, so it will purify me by its fire and sear inhumanity from my heart. Material things deaden people who try to live without suffering. Love awakens them with enlivening pains. Humanity is divided into different clans and tribes and belongs to countries and towns, but I find myself a stranger to all communities and belong to no settlement. The universe is my country, and the human family is my tribe. People are weak, and it is sad that they divide among themselves. The world is narrow, and it is unwise to cleave it into kingdoms, empires, and provinces. Humanity unites itself only to destroy the temples of the soul, and it joins hands to build edifices for earthly bodies. I stand alone, listening to the voice of hope in my deep self saying, as love enlivens our heart with pain, so ignorance teaches us the way of knowledge. Pain and ignorance lead to great joy in knowledge, because the Supreme Being has created nothing vain under the sun. 3. All our relationships. Love has many faces, many ways to play hide and seek. Those whom we call family, friends, strangers, and enemies all reveal the fingers of one loving hand. Mother. The most beautiful word on the lips of humanity is the word mother. And the most beautiful call is the call of my mother. It is a word full of hope and love, a sweet and kind word coming from the depths of the heart. The mother is everything. She is our consolation in sorrow, our hope in misery, and our strength in weakness. She is the source of love, mercy, sympathy, and forgiveness. Everything in nature speaks of the mother. The sun is the mother of earth and gives it its nourishment of heat. It never leaves the universe at night until it has put the earth to sleep, to the song of the sea and the hymn of birds and brooks. And this earth is the mother of trees and flowers. It produces them, nurses them, and weans them. The trees and flowers become kind mothers of their great fruits and seeds. And the mother, the prototype of all existence, is the eternal spirit, full of beauty and love. The word mother is hidden in our hearts, and it comes upon our lips in hours of sorrow and happiness, just as the perfume comes from the heart of the rose and mingles with both clear and the song that lies silent. The song that lies silent in the heart of a mother sings upon the lips of her child. No longing remains unfulfilled. Sayings on children. Long were you a dream in your mother's sleep, and then she awoke to give you birth. The germ of the race is in your mother's longing. My father and mother desired a child, and they begot me. And I wanted a mother and a father, and I begot night in the sea. Some of our children are our justifications, and some are but our regrets. Lullabies. We often sing lullabies to our children, that we ourselves may sleep. If love were in the flesh, the mother of Judas speaks, if love were in the flesh, I would burn it out with hot irons and be at peace. But it is in the soul, unreachable. Hide and seek. Now, let us play hide and seek. Should you hide in my heart, it would not be difficult to find you. But should you hide behind your own shell, then it would be useless for anyone to seek you. Love song. A poet once wrote a love song, and it was beautiful. He made many copies of it and sent them to his friends and acquaintances, both men and women, and even to a young woman whom he had met but once, who lived beyond the mountains. In a day or two, a messenger came from the young woman bringing a letter. And in the letter she said, "Let me assure you, I am deeply touched by the love song that you have written to me. Come now and see my father and my mother, and we shall make arrangements for the betrothal." The poet answered the letter and said to her, "My friend, it was but a song of love out of a poet's heart, sung by every man to every woman." And she wrote again to him, saying, "Hypocrite and liar in words, from this day until my coffin day, I shall hate all poets for your sake." Love and hate. A woman said to a man, "I love you." And the man said, "It is in my heart to be worthy of your love." And the woman said, "You love me not?" And the man only gazed upon her and said nothing. Then the woman cried aloud, "I hate you." And the man said, "Then it is also in my heart to be worthy of your hate." Two sides. Yestereve, on the marble steps of the temple, I saw a woman sitting between two men. One side of her face was pale, the other was blushing. The hermit, the beasts, and love. Once there lived a hermit among the green hills. He was pure of spirit and white of heart, and all the animals of the land and all the fowl of the air came to him in pairs, and he spoke to them. They heard him gladly, and they would gather near him, and would not go until nightfall, when he would send them away, entrusting them to the wind or the woods with his blessing. Upon an evening, as he was speaking of love, a leopard raised her head and said to the hermit, "You speak to us of loving. Tell us, sir, where is your mate?" And the hermit said, "I have no mate." Then a great cry of surprise rose from the company of beasts and fowl, and they began to say among themselves, "How can he tell us of loving and mating when he himself knows naught thereof?" And quietly, and in disdain, they left him alone. That night, the hermit lay upon his mat with his face earthward, and he wept bitterly and beat his hands upon his breast. Working with love. What is it to work with love? It is to weave the cloth with threads drawn from your heart, even as if your beloved were to wear that cloth. It is to build a house with affection, even as if your beloved were to dwell in that house. It is to sow seeds with tenderness and reap the harvest with joy, even as if your beloved were to eat the fruit. It is to charge all things you fashion with a breath of your own spirit, and to know that all the blessed dead are standing about you, watching. Wave a bit nearer. One branch in bloom said to its neighboring branch, "This is a dull and empty day." And the other branch answered, "It is indeed empty and dull." At that moment, a sparrow alighted on one of the branches, and then another sparrow nearby. One of the sparrows chirped and said, "My mate has left me." And the other sparrow cried, "My mate is also gone, and she will not return. So what do I care?" Then the two birds began to twitter and scold, and soon they were fighting and making harsh noises upon the air. All of a sudden, two other sparrows came sailing from the sky and sat quietly beside the restless two. And there was calm, and there was peace. Then the four flew away together in pairs. And the first branch said to its neighboring branch, "That was a mighty zigzag of sound." And the other branch answered, "Call it what you will. It is now both peaceful and spacious. And if the upper air makes peace, it seems to me that those who dwell in the lower might make peace also. Will you not wave in the wind a little nearer to me?" And the first branch said, "Oh, perchance for peace's sake, before the spring is over." And then it waved itself with a strong wind to embrace the other. Sayings on enemies. I have no enemies, O God, but if I am to have an enemy, let his strength be equal to mine, that truth alone may be the victor. You will be quite friendly with your enemy when you both die. Oftentimes, I have hated in self-defense, but if I were stronger, I would not have used such a weapon. Friends and strangers. Georges of Beirut speaks of Jesus. He and his friends were in the grove of pines beyond my hedge, and he was talking to them. I stood near the hedge and listened, and I knew who he was, for his fame had reached these shores before he himself visited them. When he ceased speaking, I approached him and said, "Sir, come with these men and honor me in my roof." And he smiled upon me and said, "Not this day, my friend, not this day." There was a blessing in his words, and his voice enfolded me like a garment on a cold night. Then he turned to his friends and said, "Behold a man who deems us not strangers, and though he has not seen us ere this day, he bids us to his threshold. Verily, in my kingdom there are no strangers. Our life is but the life of all other people, given us that we may know all people, and in that knowledge, love them. The deeds of all people are but our deeds, both the hidden and the revealed. I charge you not to be one self, but rather many selves, the householder and the homeless, the plower and the sparrow that picks the grain before it slumbers in the earth, the giver who gives in gratitude, and receiver who receives in pride and recognition. The beauty of the day is not only in what you see, but in what others see. For this I have chosen you from among the many who have chosen me." Then he turned to me again and smiled and said, "I say these things to you also, and you also shall remember them." Then I entreated him and said, "Master, will you not visit in my house?" And he answered, "I know your heart, and I have visited your larger house." And as he walked away with his disciples, he said, "Good night, and may your house be large enough to shelter all the wanderers of the land." Friendship, ours to live. When your friend speaks his mind, you fear not the nay in your own mind, nor do you withhold the I. And when your friend is silent, your heart ceases not to listen to his heart. For without words, in friendship, all thoughts, all desires, and all expectations are born and shared with a joy that is unacclaimed. When you part from your friend, and you grieve not, for that which you love most in him may be clearer in his absence, as the mountain to the climber is clear from the plain. And let there be no purpose in friendship save the deepening of the spirit. For love, that seeks anything but the disclosure of its own mystery, is not love, but a net cast forth, and only the unprofitable is caught. And let your best be for your friend. If he must know the ebb of your tide, let him know its flood also. For what is your friend that you should seek him with hours to kill? Seek him always with hours to live. Friendship's sweet responsibility. Friendship is always a sweet responsibility, never an opportunity. If you do not understand your friend under all conditions, you will never understand him. Loving the neighbor. When you enjoy loving your neighbor, it ceases to be a virtue. Your neighbor is your unknown self. Joseph of Arimathea remembers Jesus. And he would say, your neighbor is your unknown self, made visible. His face shall be reflected in your still waters, and if you gaze therein, you shall behold your own countenance. Should you listen in the night, you shall hear him speak, and his words shall be the throbbing of your own heart. Be unto him that which you would have him be unto you. This is my law, and I shall say it unto you and unto your children, and they unto their children, until time is spent and generations are no more. And on another day he said, you shall not be yourself alone. You are in the deeds of others, and they, though unknowing, are with you all your days. They shall not commit a crime, and your hand not be with their hand. They shall not fall down, but that you shall also fall down. And they shall not rise, but that you shall rise with them. Their road to the sanctuary is your road, and when they seek the waste land, you too seek it with them. You and your neighbor are two seeds sown in the field. Together you grow, and together you shall sway in the wind, and neither of you shall plane the field. For a seed on its way to growth claims not even its own ecstasy. Today I am with you. Tomorrow I go westward. But before I go, I say unto you that your neighbor is your unknown self, made visible. Seek him and love, that you may know yourself. For only in that knowledge shall you become my brothers. The neighbor unbefriended. The space that lies between you and your near neighbor, unbefriended, is indeed greater than that which lies between you and your beloved, who dwells beyond the 7 lands and 7 seas. Your neighbor is a field. Peter recollects his time with Jesus. Once in Capernaum, my Lord and Master spoke thus, your neighbor is your other self, dwelling behind a wall, and understanding all walls shall fall down. Who knows but that your neighbor is your better self, wearing another body? See that you love him as you would love yourself. He too is a manifestation of the Most High, whom you do not know. Your neighbor is a field, where the springs of your hope walk in their green garments, and where the winters of your desire dream of snowy heights. Your neighbor is a mirror, wherein you shall behold your countenance made beautiful by a joy which you yourself did not know, and by a sorrow you yourself did not share. I would have you love your neighbor, even as I have loved you. Then I asked him, saying, how can I love a neighbor who loves me not, and who covets my property, one who would steal my possessions? And he answered, when you are plowing, and your servant is sowing the seed behind you, would you stop and look backward and put to flight a sparrow feeding upon a few of your seeds? Should you do this, you are not worthy of the riches of your harvest. When Jesus had said this, I was ashamed, and I was silent, but I was not in fear, for he smiled upon me. Love and patriotism. A poet's voice speaks. I have a yearning for my beautiful country, and I love its people because of their misery. But if my people rose, stimulated by plunder and motivated by what they call patriotic spirit, to murder and invade my neighbor's country, then upon the committing of any human atrocity, I would hate my people and my country. I sing the praise of my birthplace and long to see the home of my children. But if the people in that home refused to shelter and feed the needy wayfarer, I would convert my praise to anger and my lauding to forgetfulness. My inner voice would say, the house that does not comfort the needy is worthy of nothing but destruction. I love my native village with some of my love for my country, and I love my country with part of my love for the earth, all of which is my country. And I love the earth with all of myself, because it is the haven of humanity, the manifest spirit of God. Humanity is the spirit of the Supreme Being on earth, and that humanity is standing amidst ruins, hiding its nakedness behind tattered rags, shedding tears upon hollow cheeks, and calling for its children with a pitiful voice. But the children are busy singing their clan's anthem. They're busy sharpening their swords, and cannot hear the cry of their mothers. Humanity appeals to its people, but they listen not. Were one to listen and console a mother by wiping her tears, others would say, he is weak, affected by sentiment. Humanity is the spirit of the Supreme Being on earth, and that Supreme Being preaches love and goodwill. But the people ridicule such teachings. The Nazarene Jesus listened, and crucifixion was his lot. Socrates heard the voice and followed it, and he too fell victim in body. The followers of the Nazarene and Socrates are the followers of deity, and since people will not kill them, they deride them, saying, ridicule is more bitter than killing. Jerusalem cannot kill the Nazarene, nor Athens Socrates. They are living yet, and shall live eternally. Ridicule cannot triumph of the followers of deity. They live and grow forever. Spaces in your togetherness. You are born together, and together you shall be forevermore. But let there be spaces in your togetherness, and let the winds of the heavens dance between you. Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your souls. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone, even as the strings of a lute are alone, though they quiver with the same music. Give your hearts, but not unto each other's keeping, for only the hand of life can contain your hearts. Flame to flame. The ancient earth gods continue their conversation about the purpose of life while observing a loving couple embracing each other. Behold, man and woman, flame to flame in white ecstasy, roots that suck at the breast of purple earth, flame flowers at the breasts of the sky. And we are the purple breast, and we are the enduring sky. Our soul, even the soul of life, your soul and mine, dwells this night in a throat inflamed, and garments the body of a girl with beating waves. Your scepter cannot sway this destiny. Your weariness is but ambition. This and all is wiped away in the passion of a man and a maid, they who are conquered by love, and upon whose bodies love's chariot ran from sea to mountain, and again from mountain to the sea, stand even now in a shy half-embrace. Petal to petal, they breathed the sacred perfume. Soul to soul, they found the soul of life, and upon their eyelids lies a prayer unto you and unto me. Love is a knight bent down to a bower anointed, a sky turned to meadow, and all the stars turned to fireflies. True it is, we are the beyond, and we are the Most High. But love is beyond our questioning, and love outsoars our song. Loving the lost sheep. A shepherd in southern Lebanon speaks about meeting Jesus. Then he said, and there was joy and laughter in his voice, let us go into the north country and meet the spring. Come with me to the hills, for winter is past, and the snows of Lebanon are descending to the valleys to sing with the brooks. The fields and the vineyards have banished sleep, and are awake to greet the sun with their green figs and tender grapes. It was late summer when he and 3 other men first walked upon that road yonder. It was evening, and he stopped and stood there at the end of the pasture. I was playing upon my flute, and my flock was grazing all around me. When he stopped, I rose and walked over and stood before him. And he asked me, where's the grave of Elijah? Is it not somewhere near this place? And I answered him, it is there, sir, underneath that great heap of stones. Even unto this day every passerby brings a stone and places it upon the heap. He thanked me and walked away, and his friends walked behind him. After 3 days, KAHLIL, who was also a shepherd, said to me that the man who had passed by was a prophet in Judea. But I did not believe him. Yet I thought of that man for many a moon. When spring came, Jesus passed once more by this pasture, and this time he was alone. I was not playing on my flute that day, for I had lost a sheep and was bereaved, and my heart was downcast within me. I walked towards him and stood still before him, for I desired to be comforted. And he looked at me and said, "You do not play upon your flute this day. Whence is this sorrow in your eyes?" I answered, "A sheep from among my sheep is lost. I have sought her everywhere, but I find her not, and I know not what to do." He was silent for a moment. Then he smiled upon me and said, "Wait here a while, and I will find your sheep." And he walked away and disappeared among the hills. After an hour, he returned, and my sheep was close behind him. As he stood before me, the sheep looked up into his face even as I was looking. Then I embraced her in gladness, and he put his hand upon my shoulder and said, "From this day you shall love this sheep more than any other in your flock, for she was lost, and now she is found." And again I embraced my sheep in gladness, and she came close to me, and I was silent. But when I raised my head to thank Jesus, he was already walking afar off, and I had not the courage to follow him. The fingers of one loving hand. A poet's voice speaks. You are my brother and sister, because you are human beings. We are all children of one Holy Spirit. We are equal and made of the same earth. You are here as my companions along the path of life, and my aid in understanding the meaning of hidden truth. You are human beings, and that fact sufficing, I love you. You may speak of me as you choose, for tomorrow shall take you away, and will use your talk as evidence for its judgment, and you shall receive justice. You may deprive me of whatever I possess, for my greed instigated the amassing of wealth, and you are entitled to my lot if it will satisfy you. You may do unto me whatever you wish, but you shall not be able to touch my truth. You may shed my blood and burn my body, but you cannot kill or hurt my spirit. You may tie my hands with chains and my feet with shackles and put me in the dark prison, but you shall not enslave my thinking, for it is free like the breeze in the spacious sky. You are my brother and sister, and I love you. I love you worshipping in your church, kneeling in your temple, and praying in your mosque. You and I are all children of one religion, for the very paths of religion are but the fingers of the loving hand of the Supreme Being, extended to all, offering completeness of spirit to all, anxious to receive all. I love you for your truth, derived from your knowledge, that truth which I cannot see because of my ignorance, but I respect it as a divine thing, for it is the deed of the Spirit. Your truth shall meet my truth and the coming world, and blend together like the fragrance of flowers. It shall become one whole and eternal truth, perpetuating and living in the eternity of love and beauty. I love you because you are weak before the strong oppressor, and poor before the greedy rich. For these reasons, I shed tears and comfort you, and from behind my tears I see you embraced in the arms of justice, smiling and forgiving your persecutors. You are my brother and sister, and I love you. 4. A love beyond. Love is more than an emotion. It is a sacred force that breaks our ideas of who we think we are and transports us on a path that extends through this life and beyond. Love's winter. Come close to me, O companion of my full life. Come close to me, and let not winter's touch enter between us. Sit by me before the heart, for fire is the only fruit of winter. Speak to me of the glory of your heart, for that is greater than the shrieking elements beyond our door. Bind the door and seal the transoms, for the angry countenance of the heaven depresses my spirit, and the face of our snow-laden fields makes my soul cry. Feed the lamp with oil, and let it not dim, and place it by you, so I can read with tears what your light with me has written upon your face. Bring autumn's wine. Let us drink and sing the song of remembrance to spring's carefree sowing, and summer's watchful tending, and autumn's reward in harvest. Come close to me, O beloved of my soul. The fire is cooling and fleeing under the ashes. Embrace me, for I fear loneliness. The lamp is dim, and the wine that we pressed is closing our eyes. Let us look upon each other before they are shut. Find me with your arms and embrace me. Let slumber then embrace our souls as one. Kiss me, my beloved, for winter has stolen all but our moving lips. You are close by me, my forever. How deep and wide will be the ocean of slumber, and how recent was the dawn. A rhythm for lovers. You shall rise beyond your words, but your path shall remain a rhythm and a fragrance. A rhythm for lovers, and for all who are beloved, and a fragrance for those who would live life in a garden. You shall go down deeper than your words, aye, deeper than all sounds, to the very heart of the earth, and there you shall be alone with the one who walks upon the Milky Way. Love is the only freedom. Love is the only freedom in the world, because it so elevates the spirit that the laws of humanity and the phenomena of nature do not alter its course. Love is justice. A poet's voice speaks. You are my brothers and sisters, but why are you quarreling with me? Why do you invade my country and try to subjugate me for the sake of pleasing those who are seeking glory and authority? Why do you leave your wives, husbands, and children and follow death to a distant land for the sake of those who buy glory with your blood and high honor with your mother's tears? Is it an honor for a man to kill his brother? If you deem it an honor, let it be an act of worship and erect a temple to Cain, who slew his brother Abel. Is self-preservation the first law of nature? Why then does greed urge you to self-sacrifice in order only to achieve its aim in hurting your brothers and sisters? Beware, my brothers and sisters, of the leader who says, "Love of existence obliges us to deprive the people of their rights." I say unto you but this: protecting others' rights is the noblest and most beautiful human act. If my existence requires that I kill others, then death is more honorable to me. And if I cannot find someone to kill me for the protection of my honor, I will not hesitate to take my life by my own hands for the sake of eternity, before eternity comes. Selfishness, my brothers and sisters, is the cause of blind superiority. And superiority creates clanship, and clanship creates authority that leads to discord and subjugation. The soul believes in the power of knowledge and justice over dark ignorance. It denies the authority that supplies the swords to defend and strengthen ignorance and oppression. That authority destroyed Babylon and shook the foundations of Jerusalem and left Rome in ruins. It is that which made people call criminals great, made writers respect their names, and made historians relate the stories of their inhumanity in the manner of praise. The only authority I obey is the knowledge of guarding and acquiescing in the natural law of justice. What justice does authority display when it kills the killer, when it imprisons the robber, when it descends on a neighbor country and slays its people? What does justice think of the authority under which a killer punishes the one who kills, and a thief sentences the one who steals? You are my brothers and sisters, and I love you. And love is justice with its full intensity and dignity. If justice did not support my love for you, regardless of your tribe and community, I would be a deceiver, concealing the ugliness of selfishness behind the outer garment of pure love. Silence whispers to the heart. It is not the syllables that come from lips and tongues that bring hearts together. There is something greater and purer than what the mouth utters. Silence illuminates our souls, whispers to our hearts and brings them together. Silence separates us from ourselves, makes us sail the firmament of spirit, and brings us closer to heaven. It makes us feel that bodies are no more than prisons, and that this world is only a place of exile. Love song of the wave. The strong shore is my beloved, and I am his sweetheart. We are at last united by love, and then the moon draws me from him. I go to him in haste, and depart reluctantly with many little farewells. I steal swiftly from behind the blue horizon to cast the silver of my foam upon the gold of his sand, and we blend in melted brilliance. I quench his thirst and submerge his heart. He softens my voice and subdues my temper. At dawn, I recite the rules of love to his ears, and he embraces me. At eventide, I sing to him the song of hope, and then print smooth kisses on his face. I am swift and fearful, but he is quiet, patient, and thoughtful. His broad bosom soothes my restlessness. As the tide comes, we caress each other. When it withdraws, I drop to his feet in prayer. Many times have I danced around mermaids as they rose from the depths and rested upon my crest to watch the stars. Many times have I heard lovers complain of their smallness. I helped them to sigh. Many times have I teased the great rocks and fondled them with a smile, but never have I received laughter from them. Many times have I lifted drowning souls and carried them tenderly to my beloved shore. He gives them strength as he takes mine. Many times have I stolen gems from the depths and presented them to my beloved shore. He takes them in silence, but still I give, for he welcomes me ever. In the heaviness of night, when all creatures seek the ghost of slumber, I sit up, singing at one time and sighing at another. I am awake always. Alas, sleeplessness has weakened me. But I am a lover, and the truth of love is strong. I may be weary, but I shall never die. Seeds of heart. Every seed is a longing. Sow a seed, and the earth will yield you a flower. Dream your dream to the sky, and it will bring you your beloved. Song of love. I am the lover's eyes, and the spirit's wine, and the heart's nourishment. I am a rose. My heart opens at dawn, and the virgin kisses me and places me upon her breast. I am the house of true fortune, and the origin of pleasure, and the beginning of peace and tranquility. I am the gentle smile upon the lips of beauty. When youth overtakes me, he forgets his toil, and his whole life becomes a reality of sweet dreams. I am the poet's elation, and the artist's revelation, and the musician's inspiration. I am a sacred shrine in the heart of a child, adored by a merciful mother. I appear to a heart's cry. I shun a demand. My fullness pursues the heart's desire. It shuns the empty claim of the voice. I appeared to Adam through Eve, and exile was their lot. Yet I revealed myself to Solomon, and he drew wisdom from my presence. I smiled at Helena, and she destroyed Tarwada. Yet I crowned Cleopatra, and peace dominated the valley of the Nile. I am like the ages, building today and destroying tomorrow. I am like a god who creates and ruins. I am sweeter than a violet sigh. I am more violent than a raging tempest. Yet alone do not entice me. Parting does not discourage me. Poverty does not chase me. Jealousy does not prove my awareness. Madness does not evidence my presence. O seekers, I am truth beseeching truth, and your truth in seeking and receiving and protecting me shall determine my behavior. Tarwana is Arabic for Troy. Love's light. Love is a word of light, written by a hand of light, upon a page of light. Love is sufficient to itself. Love gives not but itself, and takes not but from itself. Love possesses not, nor would it be possessed. For love is sufficient unto love. When you love, you should not say, God is in my heart, but rather, I am in the heart of God. When love becomes vast. Looking back, John of Patmos speaks of Jesus. Once more I would speak of him. God gave me the voice and the burning lips, though not the speech. And unworthy am I for the fuller word, yet I would summon my heart to my lips. Jesus loved me, and I knew not why. And I loved him because he quickened my spirit to heights beyond my stature and to depths beyond my sounding. Love is a sacred mystery. To those who love, it remains forever wordless. But to those who do not love, it may be but a heartless jest. Jesus called me and my brother when we were laboring in the field. I was young then, and only the voice of dawn had visited my ears. But his voice, and the trumpet of his voice, was the end of my labor and the beginning of my passion. And there was nothing for me then but to walk in the sun and worship the loveliness of the hour. Could you conceive a majesty too kind to be majestic, and a beauty too radiant to seem beautiful? Could you hear in your dreams a voice shy of its own rapture? He called me, and I followed him. That evening I returned to my father's house to get my other cloak, and I said to my mother, Jesus of Nazareth would have me in his company. And she said, Go his way, my son, even like your brother. And I accompanied him. This fragrance called me and commanded me, but only to release me. Love is a gracious host to its guests, though to the unbidden, its house is a mirage and a mockery. Now you would have me explain the miracles of Jesus. We are all the miraculous gesture of the moment. Our Lord and Master was the center of that moment, yet it was not in his desire that his gestures be known. I have heard him say to the lame, Rise and go home, but say not to the priest that I have made you whole. And Jesus' mind was not with the cripple. It was rather with the strong and the upright. This mind sought and held other minds, and his complete spirit visited other spirits. And in so doing, his spirit changed these minds and these spirits. It seemed miraculous, but with our Lord and Master, it was simply like breathing the air of every day. And now let me speak of other things. On a day when he and I were alone, walking in a field, we were both hungry, and we came to a wild apple tree. There were only 2 apples hanging on the bough, and he held the trunk of the tree with his arm and shook it, and the 2 apples fell down. He picked them both up and gave one to me. The other he held in his hand. In my hunger, I eat the apple, and I eat it fast. Then I looked at him, and I saw that he still held the other apple in his hand. And he gave it to me, saying, Eat this also. And I took the apple, and in my shameless hunger I ate it. And as we walked on, I looked upon his face. But how shall I tell you what I saw? A night where candles burn in space, a dream beyond our reaching, a noon where all shepherds are at peace and happy that their flock are grazing, an eventide, and a stillness, and a homecoming, then a sleep, and a dream. All these things I saw in his face. He had given me the 2 apples, and I know he was hungry, even as I was hungry. But I now know that in giving them to me, he had been satisfied. He himself ate of other fruit from another tree. I would tell you more of him, but how shall I? When love becomes vast, love becomes wordless, and when memory is overladen, it seeks the silent deep. Out of my deeper heart. Out of my deeper heart, a bird rose and flew skywards. Higher and higher did it rise, yet larger and larger did it grow. At first, it was but like a swallow, then a lark, then an eagle, then as vast as a spring cloud, and then it filled the starry heavens. Out of my heart, a bird flew skywards, and it waxed larger as it flew. Yet it left not my heart. O my faith, my untamed knowledge, how shall I fly to your height, and see with our larger self penciled upon the sky? How shall I turn this sea within me into mist, and move with you in space immeasurable? How can a prisoner within the temple behold its golden downs? How shall the heart of a fruit be stretched to envelop the fruit also? O my faith, I am in chains behind these bars of silver and ebony, and I cannot fly with you. Yet out of my heart you rise skyward, and it is my heart that holds you, and I shall be content. Longing for the heart of the beloved. Lazarus laments being brought back to life by Jesus, and speaks to his sister, Mary. A madman listens nearby and comments. Lazarus, I was a stream, and I sought the sea where my beloved dwells, and when I reached the sea, I was brought to the hills to run again among the rocks. I was a song imprisoned in silence, longing for the heart of my beloved, and when the winds of heaven released me and uttered me in that green forest, I was recaptured by a voice, and I was turned again into silence. I was a root in the dark earth, then I became a flower, and then a fragrance in space rising to enfold my beloved, and then I was caught and gathered by hand, and I was made a root again, a root in the dark earth. The madman, if you are a root, you can always escape the tempests in the branches, and it is good to be a running stream, even after you have reached the sea. Of course it is good for water to run upward. Mary, but my brother, it is good to be a running stream, and it is not good to be a song not yet sung, and it is good to be a root in the dark earth. The Master knew all this, and he called you back to us, that we may know there is no veil between life and death. Do you not see how one word uttered in love may bring together elements scattered by an illusion called death? Believe and have faith, for only in faith, which is our deeper knowledge, can you find comfort. Lazarus, comfort. Comfort, the treacherous, the deadly. Comfort that cheats our senses and makes us slaves to the passing hour. I would not have comfort. I would have passion. I would burn in the cool space with my beloved. I would be in the boundless space with my mate, my other self. Oh, Mary, Mary, you were once my sister, and we knew one another even when our nearest kin knew us not. Now listen to me. Listen to me with your heart. We were in space, my beloved and I, and we were all space. We were in light, and we were all light, and we roamed even like the ancient spirit that moved upon the face of the waters, and it was forever the first day. We were love itself that dwells in the heart of the white silence. Then a voice like thunder, a voice like countless spears piercing the ether cried out saying, Lazarus, come forth. And the voice echoed and re-echoed in space, and I, even as a flood tide, became an ebbing tide. A house divided, a garment rent, a youth unspent, a tower that fell down, and out of its broken stones a landmark was made. A voice cried, Lazarus, come forth. And I descended from the mansion of the sky to a tomb within a tomb. This body in a sealed cave. Love and time. Who among you does not feel that your power to love is boundless? And yet, who does not feel that very love, though boundless, encompassed within the center of your being, yet moving not from love thought to love thought, nor from love deeds to other love deeds? And is not time, even as love is, undivided and paceless? But if in thought you must measure time into seasons, let each season encircle all the other seasons, and let today embrace the past with remembrance, and the future with longing. love created in a moment. It is wrong to think that love comes from long companionship and persevering courtship. Love is the offspring of spiritual affinity, and unless that affinity is created in a moment, it will not be created in years or even generations. The gardens of our passion. 30 years later, Mary Magdalene reflects. Once again I say that, with death, Jesus conquered death and rose from the grave a spirit and a power, and he walked in our solitude and visited the gardens of our passion. He lies not there in that cleft rock behind the stone. We who love him beheld him with these our eyes, which he made to see, and we touched him with these our hands, which he taught to reach forth. I know you who believe not in him. I was one of you, and you are many, but your number shall be diminished. Must you break your harp and your lyre to find the music therein? Or must you fell a tree, ere you can believe it bears fruit? You hate Jesus, because someone from the North Country said he was the Son of God. But you hate one another, because each of you deems himself too great to be the brother of the next one. You hate him because someone said he was born of a virgin and not of human seed. But you know not the mothers who go to the tomb in virginity, nor the men who go down to the grave choked with their own thirst. You know not that the earth was given in marriage to the Son, and that earth it is who sends us forth to the mountain and the desert. There is a gulf that yawns between those who love him and those who hate him, between those who believe and those who do not believe. But when the years have bridged that gulf, you shall know that he who lived in us is deathless, that he was the Son of God, even as we are the children of God, that he was born of a virgin, even as we are born of the husbandless earth. It is passing strange that the earth gives not to the unbelievers the roots that would suck at her breast, nor the wings wherewith to fly high and drink and be filled with the dews of her space. But I know what I know, and it is enough. Love's wild assault. The ancient earth gods conclude that their weariness with life is unwarranted, and that the presence of love has changed everything. First God, eternal altar, wouldst thou indeed this night a god for sacrifice? Now then I come, and coming I offer up my passion and my pain. Lo, there is the dancer, carved out of our ancient eagerness, and the singer is crying mine own songs unto the wind. And in that dancing and in that singing, a god is slain within me. My god heart within my human ribs shouts to my god heart in mid-air. The human pit that wearied me calls to divinity. The beauty that we have sought from the beginning calls unto divinity. I heed, and I've measured the call, and now I yield. Beauty is a path that leads to self, self-slain. Beat your strings, I will walk the path. It stretches ever to another dawn. Third God. Love triumphs. The white and green of love beside a lake, and the proud majesty of love in tower or balcony. Love in a garden or in the desert untrodden. Love is our Lord and Master. It is not a wanton decay of the flesh, nor the crumbling of desire, when desire and self are wrestling, nor is it flesh that takes arms against the spirit. Love rebels not. It only leaves the trodden way of ancient destinies for the sacred grove, to sing and dance its secret to eternity. Love is youth with chains broken, manhood made free from the sod, and womanhood warmed by the flame and shining with the light of heaven, deeper than our heaven. Love is a distant laughter in the spirit. That is a wild assault that hushes you to your awakening. It is a new dawn unto the earth, a day not yet achieved in your eyes or mine, but already achieved in its own greater heart. Brothers, my brothers, the bride comes from the heart of dawn and the bridegroom from the sunset. There is a wedding in the valley, a day too vast for recording. Now I will rise and strip me of time and space, and I will dance in that field untrodden, and the dancer's feet will move with my feet, and I will sing in that higher air, and a human voice will throb within my voice. We gods shall pass into the twilight, perchance to wake to the dawn of another world, but love shall stay, and its finger marks shall not be erased. The blessed forge burns, the sparks rise, and each spark is a sun. Better it is for us, and wiser to seek a shadowed nook and sleep in our earth divinity. And let love, human and frail, command the coming day. My soul is my friend. A poet's voice speaks. My soul is my friend, who consoles me in the misery and distress of life. Those who do not befriend their soul are enemies of humanity, and those who do not find human guidance within themselves will perish. Life emerges from within, and derives not from environs. I came to say a word, and I shall say it now. But if death prevents its uttering, it will be said by tomorrow, for tomorrow never leaves a secret in the book of eternity. I came to live in the glory of love and the light of beauty, which are the reflections of God. I am here living, and the people are unable to exile me from the domain of life, for they know I will live in death. If they pluck out my eyes, I will hearken to the murmurs of love and the songs of beauty. If they close my ears, I will enjoy the touch of the breeze, mixed with the incense of love and the fragrance of beauty. If they place me in a vacuum, I will live together with my soul, the child of love and beauty. I came here to be for all and with all, and what I do today in my solitude will be echoed by tomorrow to the people. What I sing now with one heart will be set tomorrow by many hearts. Staying and going. My house says to me, do not leave me, for here dwells your past. And the road says to me, come and follow me, for I am your future. And I say to both my house and the road, I have no past, nor have I a future. If I stay here, there's a going in my staying, and if I go, there's a staying in my going. Only love and death will change all things. My longing shall gather. A little while, and my longing shall gather dust and foam for another body. A little while, a moment of rest upon the wind, and another woman shall bear me. Farewell to you, and the youth I've spent with you. It was but yesterday we met in a dream. You have sung to me in my aloneness, and I, of your longings, have built a tower in the sky. About the author. Dates from the life of Khalil Gibran, Khalil, the author's full Arabic name, which due to a registration spelling mistake at his first school in the United States was changed from the usual spelling to Khalil, Kahlil. 1883. Born in Akshali, a village in the north of Lebanon. 1895. Gibran's mother immigrates to Boston with her 4 children, hoping to flee poverty and unhappiness, but her husband remains in Lebanon, imprisoned for embezzling from the government. 1898. Returns to Lebanon to study Arabic and French at a Maronite-run preparatory school in Beirut. By some accounts, his mother wants to remove him from unsavory artistic influences in Boston. 1902. Returns to Boston. In 15 months' time, he loses his mother, sister, and half-brother to tuberculosis. 1904. Through photographer Fred Holland Day, he meets Mary Haskell, a school headmistress who becomes his patron, muse, editor, and possible lover, publishes several poems in prose, gathered later under the title A Tear and a Smile. 1908 to 1910. Funded by Mary, he attends art school in Paris. 1911. Settles in New York, where he starts an intimate correspondence with Mazieda, a Lebanese intellectual living in Cairo. 1918, The Madman, Gibran's first book written in English, is published. 1920. Together with other Arab and Lebanese writers and poets living in the United States, he founds a literary society called Al-Rabita al-Kalamiyya, the Pen Bond. 1923. The Prophet is published, with immediate success. He begins a friendship with Barbara Young, who later becomes his new muse and editor. 1928. Jesus, the Son of Man is published. 1931. Dies in a hospital in New York at the age of 48 due to cirrhosis of the liver. As was his wish, Gibran's body is transferred in 1932 to Lebanon and is buried in his native town of Abshali. An old monastery is purchased, which becomes a museum to his memory. These bare facts belie the complexity and turbulence of Kahlil Gibran's life, both inner and outer. As one of his biographers, Suhail Bushuri, writes, "The more that has been written about Gibran, the more elusive the man himself has tended to become, as critics, friends, and biographers have built up a variety of unconnected pictures. Gibran himself is partly to blame. He wrote very little about his own life, and in recurrent moments of insecurity and vagueness, particularly during his first years of recognition, often fabricated or embellished his humble origins and troubled background. This self-perpetuation of his myth, a tendency followed by other literary figures such as Yeats and Swift, was not intellectual dishonesty, but a manifestation of the poetic mind's desire to create its own mythology." Bushuri, 1998. A good online biography can be found at the website of the Gibran National Committee, www.gibran.org. As Bushuri notes, the many biographies and biographical studies of Gibran do not agree on many points. They are very much like the different voices presented in Gibran's book, Jesus, the Son of Man, each reporting various facets of a person who embraced both the highs and lows, the lights and shadows of a fully human life.